Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction to the Nashville Number System. And I explained in an earlier video we made several months ago that I don't read sheet music. I've never taken the initiative. Well, I'll back up. I did a few years ago. I took a week from my day job of doing software programming. I thought, okay, I'm going to make myself learn how to read sheet music because we get a lot of requests for it, and at this time we have to hand it off to somebody who writes it for us. So I took the week and I thought I'm going to make myself learn this, and I'll be honest with you, it was the most miserable week of my entire life. I thought I can't wrap my head around this. It was just, from somebody that plays by ear, it was just too much. I just felt so restricted in that format. So many of you may be the same way. You play by ear. You've never really learned the depths of music theory and all that. So you may think, well, why do I need to know the number system? For one thing, it's the easiest way, in my opinion, it's the easiest way to communicate music, whether it be just even writing down stuff for yourself or sharing it with somebody else, which in our case, that's what it is with me and Sandy when we're doing co-writing and stuff, and we're trying to come up with the structure of the melody. It's very easy with numbers just fly between me and her because of its simplicity. And you may think, well, why shoot numbers at each other? Why not just go ahead and say the key? And I'll explain in a little bit. So to understand why do you need to learn the number system, again, it's because it's easy to describe music without having the context of one set key, and I'll explain. As far as the history of it, back in the late 50s, it was created by a man named Neil Matthews, and by the way, he was part of or associated with a group called the Jordanaires, which is a gospel group. So it's neat to me that with the number system being used everywhere in studios, that it was started by a gospel group. So I just think that's neat. Neil Matthews came up with this concept that you could write numbers instead of the chords, and so anytime the chord would change, the root chord, I should say, the key of the song, there was no problem. Everybody says, okay, instead of G, let's say it's F, and the scale still remains. And I know you're thinking, okay, that's just sounds complicated already. So your blood pressure is probably already up, and you think, okay, I can't do this. Trust me, it's not complicated, okay? It's not complicated. Okay, one thing we need to establish before we get into the number system, let's discuss the major scale. Now, for any of you that are in advanced music theory and you know all this stuff, it's going to seem a little bit boring, maybe a little aggravating. Just like let's get to the root of it. But I'm not going to assume anything about your musical knowledge or anything. we're just going to reach back and we're going to get everybody in the same boat. Okay, so the major scale, which if you don't know it, it's in C. Da, 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 da. Okay, that's the major scale in C. And D. Da, 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 da. Okay, and you can look it up online to verify I'm telling you the truth, that the major scale relative to any key, okay, like A, da 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 da, da 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 da, okay. Okay, so you need to have that basic understanding of the major scale. So whatever key you're comfortable in playing in, it helps to know it in all keys. But just pick your comfort key, and most people, like guitar players, it's usually G. And a lot of times with piano players, it's a C. At least that's the way it is for Sandy. But a lot of piano players I've seen, they gravitate towards C. So for us guitar players, Okay, why is that important? C. Okay. Okay, the reason that's important is because if you know the major scale, then you know the number system. That's how easy it is. If you know the major scale, you know the number system. Why is that? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That's the next octave. If you're in C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay? So, let's say Amazing Grace. Okay, we're in G. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. So how sweet. I'm in G. How sweet. Okay, in the number system, we'd say that's a 4 chord. And why is that? Major scale. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. This lands on a 5. That is D. So check this out. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. We'd say that's a 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wretch like me. Back to 1, which is our root key. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. So I hope that makes sense. That the way I learned, I'll just tell you this, the way I learned to get my head wrapped around it at first is I knew if I'm in whatever key I'm in G, I knew my major associated chords was going to be C and D. And again, if you're a piano player, so if you're in C, your major associated chords are, right, F and G. So, okay, so again, that's a 4 chord, F. That's a 4 chord, what we call it. If you're in C, F is your 4 chord. Why? Because in C, the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 1, 4, 5. 1, 5, 1. Okay? It's really that simple. Okay? Let me go back to G for this. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 5, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. So if you know those 3 core major key or associated keys, it'd be your 1, 4, and 5. That's basically the as basic as it can get on the number system is your 1, 4, and your 5. Okay. There's a lot more to that we can get into maybe in a later video. Okay. Let me show you one more thing, and then I'll take you into the sanctuary where Sandy's at. She's at the piano, and we'll go from there. I'll let you piano players see her fingers doing some things. The guitar may be confusing. It may not be clicking with you piano players out there. So I've got you in mind too. Okay. Let me show you just a brief example that will dabble into something a little more complicated, because I've been showing you just the 1, 4s, and 5s. Okay. Let me show you this, and we'll head into the sanctuary. Okay. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Okay, I was blind. So that is a 6 chord, and if that don't come naturally, trust me, it will later on. It's a 6 chord because, again, going back to the major scale, this is our root key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? It's a 6 minor. Okay? Now, I have to tell you this, and I don't want to confuse anybody and muddle the waters here, but if you look online, if you go to different videos on YouTube after you watch this, I don't know how this 2 varying opinions got created. I don't. But videos out there will tell you that all those other numbers are to be played as minor chords. So the camp that I came from and are, currently work with these guys in Nashville that are incredibly talented. In fact, the book that I learned the number system from is a guy named Chaz Williams, and he's a Nashville insider. In fact, they colleges will teach from his book, and so his thought process, which again, all the guys that I work with, it is theirs as well, is that all the numbers, unless notated, are played as majors. So that's why I would say a 6 minor chord. I was blind. See, that's inherently a major from our camp. The guys that I work with. I was blind, a minor, so it'd be a 6 minor chord. So I'm only saying that not to confuse you. I'm only saying that to clear up some confusion. There are 2 camps out there that will say, other than your 4 and your 5, everything else, all those other numbers are to be played as a minor chord. So I'm going to leave that to you, whatever camp you subscribe to. But the way I describe it, if we have any videos in the future, if I'm saying a 2 chord, it's going to be 1, 2. If I'm saying a 2, it will be a 2 major. And if I'm saying a 6, unless saying a 6 minor, it'll be a 6 major. So I hope, again, I don't want to confuse anybody, but you do need to understand that there are 2 different thoughts going. If you come from the gospel music genre and that's what you identify with, then probably the way that I process it and the guys that I work with process it as majors is probably how you need to process things. Okay, I brought you guys in here so you can get a perspective from a piano player's mindset. Obviously, I process things from a guitar perspective, but some of you piano players out there may be saying, "Well, we want the piano version of it." So this will hopefully clear up anything if you still have some confusion about it. Now, again, as we discussed earlier, the number system is based off the major scale. So if you know the major scale, then you know the number system. I did the major scale in there on the guitar, so we can say, I think Sandy thinks out of a C scale. I think out of a G scale, as far as the major scale is concerned. So I gravitate naturally toward G. Piano players generally, like Sandy, will gravitate toward the C scale. So C scale on a piano would be, in the major scale we're talking about.
Most piano players say that they think in terms of C, that it would be the easiest of the keys to play, and there's really no black keys involved, and so they think C, and it is an easy one to explain the number system. So if you're in C, you would start with C as your 1, D as your 2, 3 would be E, 4 would be F, G would be 5, A would be 6, and B would be 7, and then you'd start back over with your 1 again.
So again, that's based off of, you can look it up online. She just played the major scale in C. So the relationship of those numbers is based off of what your root note is. So again, she's thinking out of a C scale. So in other words, what we're basically saying is somebody would just say, I want to play in C. So everything she just did, everything she just played is based off of the fact if somebody say, let's play in C. That's what we're referring to. So let's just, for an example, let's do another key. Let's just say we want to change keys to,
A lot of piano players like G as well. That's an easy one. G would be your 1, A would be 2, B would be 3, C would be 4, D would be 5, E would be 6, F sharp or G flat, some people call it one or the other. We usually call it F sharp. That would be your 7, and then G would start all over with your 1. And then your 1.
So if you can do that on any chord that comes to your mind, any chord that's being played of a song, any key, I should say, that's the number system. That's as easy as it comes. Now you may be thinking, I'll never use that, I'll never use that. You'll be surprised of how readily you'll start using it once you get into your head. I kind of dove in the waters first, and then Sandy learned it from me as far as the rudiments of it. We're definitely not experts in the number system, but the knowledge that we have gained from it, it's been amazing in our co-writing sessions of how we'll be shooting numbers at each other, and it just helps creation move so fast, because sometimes I don't know what key she's playing in. If she's in a keyboard, she may be transposed in F sharp, and we never know what key. I may not know what key even she's in, but because we know those associations, I can say, let's hit a 4 chord, and then whatever key she's in, she'll hit that da 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 da. She'll hit that particular chord based off the major scale. So as an example, there was a church we was at a few weeks ago. I'm sure she'll probably remember this. Me and Sandy was playing for the church service that night, and somebody got up to sing a special, and we didn't know the song, but Mom knew the song, and we've taught Mom enough of the number system where she knew enough to shoot the numbers at us. So as we were playing, we were looking down where Mom was, and Mom was helping us play through that song. So a song we didn't even know, we was able to play right off the fly because of knowing the number system.
She could shoot the numbers to us from the front row, so that made it super convenient.
And this may all make sense too, but in case it's not, just start playing in a key. Six minor, 2.
And we're playing Amazing Grace.
Right, you haven't figured out how to. We're just imagining this is a song we've never played before. 6 minor. There are entire videos out there too that I've seen of, like I just said, a 6 minor. Some people say, well, how do you notate? How do you throw numbers for a 6 minor? There's so many ways you could do it. I mean, to me, with like one hand, if you wouldn't even want to do a 6, to me, you could even do like a 6 minor. It's that thing can be a totally different conversation. But again, this is a basic video. This is not meant to be complicated. So the basic concept would be, if you know the major scale, you know the number system. So don't let anybody tell you that it's complicated, because it's not. It's as simple as what we just did right there and what was done on the guitar.
And if he can teach me, anybody can learn, because I was very intimidated by the process of learning it, but within about 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, I thought to myself, as hopefully many of you are realizing, I thought, oh my goodness, is it really that easy? And it is. It's just walking up the scale and counting to 7 and then starting over again with a 1. So again, if I can learn it, anybody can learn it.
Yeah, and many of you will already know. I think I shared this when was with the guitar. Many of you already know, in a sense, the number system without even realizing what you're knowing, because if you ask anybody and giving you the same question, if you're in C, your major associated chords, okay, we got C, and your major associated chords are F and G. So you already know that. So inherently, without you realizing it, you already know my 1, 4s, and 5s. That's what I learned first, was my 1s, my 4s, and my 5s, because that is your major associated keys. Why? Because when we're in C, 1, 1, 1. Once you walk up to a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our F. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's easier than what you think it is, just to know your 1, 4s, and 5s. Same goes with that name, any key.
B flat.
Okay, B flat. Which again, I hate B flat. As a guitar player, I hate B flat.
It's great on a piano.
So 1, 4, 2.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is E flat.
5.
5 is F.
1.
And then back to B flat.
So yeah.
In these years of us using that language, we wonder how we ever made it without it.
Oh yeah.
It eliminates a lot of train wrecks between musicians, especially if you have somebody else who knows the process as well.
Mm-hmm. In fact, it's been so ingrained in me and her that if somebody says, write me a chord chart of a particular song, instinctively you just go to writing numbers, because it comes out so naturally to think in those terms. So it's liberating to a degree, because you're not having to be stuck to one particular chord to okay, what's that chord, what's that chord. You just know instinctively, that's my 1, that's my 4, that's my 5, you know. And obviously it can be more complicated than that, but in its rudiment, that's as easy as it gets. So you have any final thoughts?
No, just if you haven't learned it, do whatever you have to do to set aside some quiet time to where you can absorb it. Because once you have absorbed these simple steps to learning, you'll thank yourself. You'll be so glad you did, and then you can become the teacher for your other musicians in your church or your family. And the more people around you that you can encourage to know these steps, the more you can flow together as a team, and just makes things a whole lot easier in church and in practice.
Yeah, it's really as simple as that. People can make it complicated. And there are very in-depth notation and concepts that come with the number system, almost to the point of going to sheet music. That's how detailed you can get. But at its rudiment, that's as simple as it gets. And then anybody can learn the number system. So I hope that's explained the simplicity of it to you and sparked your curiosity. There's a bazillion videos out there that goes into more detail about the number system, but we just like to give you that rudimentary knowledge that you can get kick-started with that, I guess. So she's supposed to say something.
I thought he was still talking.
All right, God bless you, and we pray God blesses your ministry of music, and because ultimately all the glory belongs to Him.